Hi guys, I'm Shmi. Hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me at the BMW stand here at the 2019 Frankfurt Motorshow, where behind me is a car that has been getting all of the discussion going. This is BMW's new Concept 4, the vision towards the new 4 Series and perhaps also the M3 and the M4. Now we're going to take a look at that as well as the new BMW X6, also talk a little bit about the M8 Competition. Of course, I've told you that one of those is going to be a future Shmi-mobile, and around the back they also have this Vantablack X6, which is so dark, in fact, barely reflects any light at all. So let's check it out then, here at the BMW stand, the 2019 Frankfurt Motorshow. Let's start right here then, talking about this, the Concept 4. Concept, of course, it is a look towards the future, but before the 4 Series. Now, for the previous generation, the 4 was a departure from the 3. Of course, traditionally, the various different body styles had all been 3 Series, but for that generation, the 4 took away the coupe, the convertible, and then later on the Grand Coupe, which was the saloon version of the coupe version of the saloon. Yes, that is quite complicated. For the next generation, though, it is suggested that there might be quite a departure also in terms of the visual side of it. Now, of course, the car will be based on the platform of the new 3 Series, which recently launched, but this car spinning around in front of us is giving us a pretty good insight into where this might head, the direction it might go into, and in particular, I want to talk about what we're looking at around the front. The grills, the kidney grills that have become such a discussion point in the more modern BMWs. Think of the new 7 Series, the LCI, and how large they've become, and in the case of this, how distinct they've become. It links back to the old BMW 328 in the shape of them. In fact, I'm just going to walk around a touch just to show you a little bit more and talk about this. They've become narrow, they've become tall, they've become edgy, and this is of course a concept, so it won't necessarily look like this on the final production car, but that has been getting a lot of talk. Some people love it, some people hate it. My views on the topic, well, it's distinct, and I quite like that. I like a car that stands out, and I know people have been making all of these jokes and the memes about how big the grills have been becoming and the fact that you can cook your breakfast on them and all of that kind of thing. This actually looks really good in person. It's all around a very nice shape and package. And for example, as we're looking at the rear here, the cutaway that you have, the way it dips in, and then the way the tail lights come around. And in fact, some concepts we've seen have also had the BMW roundel there on the sides of the lights, and that's a link back to the likes of the cars from the past as well. The M1, for example, that have the BMW logo on the side, and some of the more modern cars have actually done that. The X2, for example. Of course, concept cars always have the advantage that they can sit low, they can wear very, very big wheels that might not make it to production. But look also at the headlights as it spins around here. No covers over the front of them. You've still got the BMW dual eye style on each side, and in fact, those are actually really quite trick when you look in close. Some familiar bits of design, the air curtain, the allowing of air just around there to control it around the side of the car, but the front end of it very edgy, very aggressive, the way the grille is pronounced and leans over towards the front, also the sharpness of the splitter down there as well. Things like the door mirrors, which presumably in this case are designed for styling, and you can actually see through them where there is a floating BMW logo on the inside. Maybe we'll catch that around the other side. Stylistically, very, very cool. Of course, in the future we might be talking about having cameras displayed on the inside of the car as opposed to the more traditional mirrors. But the BMW Concept 4 has no interior at the moment, but expect it to look like the 3 Series. Maybe we'll find one of those very shortly. Again, around the rear, some M-styling cues that we're familiar with, those cutaways for the airflow management around the back. The door handle styling I like as well, the chrome finish that matches with the surround bezel around the windows, which by the way on this paint colour just looks striking. Really and truly, the pearlescent nature of it, from the highs, the brighter almost orange sections through to the deep reds that you get on the cutaways and the foldaways, I should say. Around the front, look at the grille though. Look at all of those inserts you've got to it. Of course, there's no openings for the cooling of what would be the engine inside at the moment. The thing you have to think about though is, how's the number plate going to be mounted? It's going to have to obscure part of that if we do see this shape. And some of the spy shots of the upcoming M3 and M4 models have shown that perhaps behind the camouflage, that is the grille that they're going to have lurking back there. All I can say as this spins around is that I'm really quite impressed by it, and I'm very much looking forward to how that's going to develop as we get through, I guess, towards the future M3 and M4. It's not going to be that long. They are hugely popular cars. In fact, the previous generation M4 used to be a car in my garage as well at one point in Austin Yellow, a car I did many miles with and road trips with, so maybe one of these could be in the future. If the M4 comes out looking like that, I would be very, very, very tempted, that is for sure. But talking about Schneemobiles, cars in the garage, this is of course one of them, soon to arrive, an M8 Competition. I will have more details for you in the not too distant future. An M8 Competition coupe here, in the satin blue, the paintwork But the M8, the kind of completely top specification, 625 horsepower. You can squeeze around actually to come show you around towards the front, give you a better look at this car, which we saw at the launch at BMW's Next Gen event held recently at the BMW Welt. Of course, here at the Frankfurt Motorshow is technically BMW's home show on home soil, but the M8 was it was a thing we waited a long time for. Of course, the M850 came out. This is the M850i Grand Coupe, but the M8 itself was something that I think we had all been waiting for, and then it did eventually arrive, and I'm hoping when I get to drive it very, very soon, actually, there's going to be a press launch and an opportunity to experience this car on track, and we'd rather take a bite, and I'll have more information for you then about what's going to be happening with the future one, but at this point I've not really told you very much about, so stay tuned for all of that to come as well. For the moment, let's go and check out the X6 and then this Vantablack car, which you will see exactly what that means very shortly. This then is the new third generation now of the BMW X6. It's been released in a number of different versions. This is the range-topping M50i. Now, I used to have a second generation M50d in the garage. The new car, though, you will notice is sitting lower, is also wider and longer, which give it sportier proportions while also lowering the centre of gravity for an even sportier drive. Now, when the first generation launched, of course, a lot of people called into question the coupe styling at the rear, which took away a sense of practicality from the X5 on which the car is based, in exchange, of course, for sportier looks and a more dynamic drive. But the rear of this has really grown and moved on. It is significantly improved in my eyes versus the previous generations. And have a look here also at the tail lights. I love that design. It actually matches in very nicely with what we're seeing on some of the other models and concepts for the future. But it's also completely just the way it's shaped, the way it's posed. And if I open up the rear tailgate, just have a quick look at this. There's quite a high rear deck in terms of the loading floor. You've got folding seats, 40, 20, 40, all the infotainment inside that you could expect and want the car to have. And then for the M50i that we have here, which remember is not the full fat X6 M version, you've already got a car that is capable of 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 4.3 seconds, thanks to up front having a 4.4 litre twin turbocharged V8 that makes 530 horsepower and 750 newton meters. Then on the inside, lots of luxury as you'd expect. Look at the stitching on the leather of the seats. You've got the digital dashboard, you've got the latest generation of the operating system and software, the automatic crystal clarity gearbox controller in the centre, and of course all the safety systems and everything else that you'd like to have from the car. But one of the big talking points is always how is the headroom in the rear. So let's take a step inside here. Actually, really quite impressive. There's plenty of room above me. Quite decent actually, not bad at all, and a good view forwards as well through the display, as well as having our tablets with the touchscreen interface as well. We can control and operate as we like. So overall, I would say this is a big step on. I like the look of it a lot, and that's before we've even had the X6 M version arrive, which potentially I guess it will do in the future. In this mysterious room then, follow us in here to take a look at what BMW are displaying. I'm going to come straight through so that you can see this, but at the back of the room we have what is called the Vantablack X6, and yes, here you can see the illuminated kidney grills as well, but the Vantablack paintwork absorbs 99.96% of visible light, which means it barely reflects any light at all, and in fact, now that we're basically in the dark, you can see exactly that. The car is almost invisible to actually be able to see, no reflections of it at all, but do not expect this paintwork to hit a production car anywhere near you anytime soon. It is something, of course, heavily scientific, used, I think, in the space industry, and you can see even with the lights on now, barely reflecting at all. It gives you the impression that it's almost a velvet or a suede or that kind of thing, but it's completely, well, unusual to actually see, and of course the car finished as well with black wheels. At the moment the grille off as well, but quite a unique display, a very curious setup that they have here for people to come and see how this looks. Back out here then, and back with the Concept 4. To be honest, an unusual concept name for BMW, to just call it Concept 4. Typically they have Vision or different names, but the Concept 4, as I've said, is a look towards what might be coming next. And I've heard a lot of people give very differing opinions on this front end. Just talking to people around here, I think purist BMW fans are not the most happy about this change in direction and this styling for the future, for the models that are loved. But to be honest, for myself, I actually really like it. Honestly, personally, I'm not just saying that. I think it looks really cool, particularly how pronounced it is. What I worry is that maybe if it gets softened and the lines become less edgy, you know, look at those creases that go up from the grille over the bonnet. If those are softened out, then it will lose some of that presence. It won't have the prominence and aggression that it has when you're looking at it like this. But that's actually a cue that comes from the Vision I Next that was shown a few years ago now. It had the grilles very much formed like that. But BMW changing direction for the different cars. For example, the M8 has this very narrow, very wide grille. The 7 Series has the very, very tall grilles, the ones people are particularly focused on. But this is a new styling for the babier sports cars, the 3 Series and the 4 Series. Of course, you also have the 1 and the 2, the new 1 having changed substantially. And you can see, if we just look over there, also the grilles on the Z4, how narrow and wide they are on the new styling. But this is a car that, to me, looks incredible. And if it came out in this colour, in this spec, in this look, with the matching chrome accents that come all the way through, I've always been a fan on a darker or very strong paint colour of having the contrast chrome around the grilles, for example. I think it would be a big, big success, and I would be very, very keen to have one of these. I just think they've done a remarkable job of linking all the design together and making it come together very well. Perhaps the front and the rear, there's a slight disconnect. They're not necessarily exactly in sync, but again, you do have links back to the past, as I mentioned, with the BMW roundels on the outside there of the tail lights. And I love this undercut, the sculpture, the shape to it, to the rear, but still with some traditional BMW styling. Of course, we're not necessarily at an M car because we don't have the M-style tailpipes. We do have a shaped diffuser with the fins and vanes underneath it, and a new style of wheel too, which is quite 3D if you look at that in detail. Studying through what they've got going on there with the different spokes. I should show you quickly the door mirrors. Catch a glimpse of this. Can you see inside there the BMW logo floating? It's really a nice touch that they've included on the car as well. So a pretty impressive turnout, it has to be said, from BMW at this year's Frankfurt Motorshow. The Concept 4, the new X6, the Vantablack car in the back room. Lots to see, lots to enjoy. And for me, the new M3 and M4 look like this, that's going to be a success. Quite a car, but let's see how it develops, how the future concepts and future variant models come to appear when they're presented. For now though, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this tour with BMW here at the Frankfurt Motor Show. But that's it for this time, and we'll see you guys again very, very soon. Cheers!